Jakob and Christina, I think this applause is yours for the beautiful work that you've done, and we haven't even seen all of them yet. But you have already also been the main architects of the global goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. So maybe we can start it off by just telling us a bit about what were the learnings that you took from the SDGs into this process.
Yeah. So Richard Curtis came to me and said, the UN are releasing these goals in a year, and they're going to fail if we can't make them popular. So how do you make something popular? You make it as simple as possible without removing the complexity. And I think that's when we learn the power of saying more with less. And I think in that process also we did this observation that what is a language for? Because we think about language as a way to communicate with each other, but it's also a precondition to being able to think at all. So it was a lot about how we think about things. So that whole thing, how you create something that is simple and powerful when it comes to the words, that was the first part of it. And then, of course, the symbols that we have worked on now.
And how was it then different working with the IDGs?
The inner skills are more abstract, so there is not really an existing visual language you can tap into for thoughts and emotions. Of course, there's the light bulb for an idea, the heart for love or passion, the hands for togetherness or help, but in general, we had to create a visual language from scratch.
And what has helped you in that process? What was like a guiding approach that you used?
Well, we looked at a lot of indigenous people's works, and we saw like what is the language that's closest to earth, to nature. Unfortunately, a lot of that is very practical. It's like an elder man or a water hole or something. Not much that talks about the actual inner skills or capacities. Obviously, I've been, for a long time, a fan of Carl Jung and his symbols, but they're often very complex and sort of mystical. And we wanted to create something that was more crisp and modern in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to make the skills easier to remember, we created 5 different shapes for the different dimensions. And then we started thinking about how the skills felt. Is the skill something that we create or build inside ourselves? Or is it something that we give? Is it something we receive? Are we creating the skill by ourselves, or is it something collaborative? What is the direction of the skill? Those kinds of things we're thinking about. But then there was also a lot about how do the icons feel to us and the reference group. Does this really feel like the skill we're talking about?
I imagine that as quite a beautiful process, actually.
Yeah, it was a very challenging, interesting, and amazing process. Yeah.
I'm curious to know how many people picked up a symbol and was like, yeah, this feels like inner compass. I hope someone did, because here it is.
This one you can already talk about.
Yeah.
You can't talk about the others because we haven't seen all of them, but just briefly, are you happy with the results?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, there's more and more with you know, we know that we're not faring that well as humans mentally, and there's not a language to discuss this. And I hope that this can maybe expand beyond the IDGs and become something that's more universal. But it's also a language in progress, because the IDGs are a system in progress. For example, we've talked about it many times that forgiveness is not one of the 23 skills, and it definitely is an oversight. So as the IDGs develop, maybe some of the icons we start to feel like, well, we can do this stronger and we can do this better. But we feel like this is a really exciting first step in that direction.
Well, thank you so much for adding this visual language, and I could assume that you will have a lot of conversations with people who will figure out what they're holding about the process that you were going through when actually designing that. Thank you so much. Please give it up for Jakob and Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.